Excited to sit down and chat with you, bro. So, what up, guys? We got Matthew Biz here with us today. 37 years old from Overland Park, Kansas.
Yes, sir.
Love it, dude. Love sports your whole life.
Yeah, grew up playing everything: basketball, baseball, soccer, football, golf, tennis, a little bit of hockey.
Okay. Interesting, some hockey.
A little bit, but not much hockey in Kansas City. So,
yeah.
Stuck to the warm weather sports.
Yeah. We played some golf the other day, and you silently just slayed it.
Just slayed it. Front nine was a little rough, but back nine, once I got the camera on me, started firing some good shots.
Yeah, so, you did, man. Yeah. You did. I didn't even know what your score was till the end, and shot an 8.
It was surprising,
Yeah, that's great, man. Dad's an engineer, and your mom's a nurse. Both retired?
Yep, both retired, so they're traveling now and trying to waste my time by calling me there for updates and stuff like that, but they like to know what I'm doing and see the success and how I'm doing and all that, so they're good.
Sweet. Okay, love it. And then you are the middle child. You got an older brother and a younger brother?
Older brother and younger brother. They both got kids, so older brother's got 3 girls, so I got 3 nieces, almost 7-year-old, and then twin 5-year-olds. Okay. So they're just wild. And then younger brother, he's got the nephew, so pressure's off me of continuing the family name.
There you go.
It's carrying on, so
there you go. Good for you,
just
brother.
Got a dog going home for me.
Yeah, and skill-wise, like you're good with numbers, technology, telling stories, which probably serves you well with this job.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So I've always been good at math, but I've always hated math.
Yeah.
My dad kind of always pushed me to figure it out on my own. It wasn't ever going to give me the solution. So I've always had to figure out things on my own. Whatever problem is there, I have to figure out the solution. No one's going to hand it to me, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like math plays a big part in everything as a whole. I can figure out a math problem, the solution to this other problem, which is, solar or, a homeowner's problem with their electricity. And telling stories ties into that same thing. Like, my dad is a really good storyteller.
Yeah.
He gets the whole room's attention, and you're focused on him and what's going to happen next and all that. So I kind of have that same, skill where I can tell a great story about what happened in spring break on this year or this golf round. I can, basically draw you a picture where you can see it and relate to it and understand what I'm talking about as opposed to just words.
Yep.
Right? So I can paint a picture for you. It makes a lot more sense. And
I
feel like that definitely helps with the job, just being able to tell a clear story, hit the problem, hit the solution, and then go from there.
Yeah, I think the people that are really well at telling stories and bringing the emotion out of people within that story, serves so much in this job.
Yeah.
Because essentially that's what you're doing, right? You're telling a story about the utility companies here and what the problem is there, and you're the solution and the conclusion or the climax of the story comes right back to you and what you can do for them.
Right.
And so, well, sweet. So kind of starting from where you started in life and how you got out here to California, I want to go through that. I want to go through the decision-making process on why you took a full commission door-to-door job.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people would actually want to do that.
Right.
And so before you were of age to work, you were mowing lawns and taking care of dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I started working early. My dad, it was kind of when I turned 14, so I'll go get a job. But before that, I would knock on, because I've been knocking doors since I was 13, if you think about it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd knock on doors and offer my lawn mowing services, and I'd use my dad's mower and walk however many blocks or mile or whatever to go mow their yard, right? And I'd get paid $20 or so. My dad, being an engineer he would take a cut.
Okay.
Because I was
that's business.
Ruining his wheels,
Yep.
Walking a half mile on the street. I was using his gas. Yeah. So each $20 I made, I think he took 25% that went into his lawn mowing fund. Right?
Okay.
So
he was dad, but also kind of Uncle Sam.
Exactly. Yeah. So nothing's free, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. You gotta pay to play. So I had to pay my share to use his mower and his equipment and everything.
Okay.
And then dogs and everything like that. And once I turned 14, then I got a job. I worked at a grocery store for 3 months, and then I applied to a restaurant. Mm-hmm. Started hosting. Within 3 months, or 3 or 4 months, they were like, "Hey, we want you to serve tables." Well, serving tables at 14 is not legal, but I did it anyway.
Yeah.
They just saw my work ethic, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to serve tables, talk to customers more." So I did that. Grew a little bit older, stayed in the restaurant industry. I was going to bartend eventually. Restaurant I was going to bartend at shut down, so I had to apply for a new place. I applied as a server and busboy. I don't want to deal with people so much more anymore, like face to face. And I actually created my own position at this restaurant, barback, which most places have, just where you clean dishes and stock beers and stuff like that. So I did all that. They liked me. I'd come in on my off nights and train on my own, not make any money, just to see what they did. Okay. So I was like, hey, can I come on my off night and see what they do and train? Yeah. So eventually I was trained. Guy got let go, and I took over 40 hours like that behind the bar. Mm-hmm. And then 5-6 months later, they said, what shifts do you want, right? So I've always kind of climbed up, wherever I've been, as far as position to kind of get to that next level. Yeah. Right?
It seems like you're just at a young age very just effort driven. You're willing to just put in the effort for something that you wanted.
Yeah. Work ethic. Yeah, my dad always harped about work ethic, and you got to have a good work ethic. So I get that from my dad. He works, tirelessly for 40 plus years. So he instilled that in me, and that definitely helped. I eventually quit my bartending job. I was in the restaurant industry for 15 years, right? Mm-hmm. So I was I just wanted to change the scenery, change of pace, change of lifestyle. So I quit my bartending job, moved to Colorado without a job, and said, let's just try it out. So I just kind of took a leap. Moved out there, didn't work for a few months, then found an inside sales gig. It was cool. We were working with schools. Okay. Then COVID hit, so I lost my job. They were downsizing. Obviously, schools were not in class, so no one was buying, right? Mm-hmm. So I knew that was coming. Got let go, and started saying, okay, I need to find something. I got to make some money, right? Yeah. So I kind of reached out to a few people, but a few years prior to this, my older brother's good friend from high school said, hey, I know a ton of people in solar if you're ever looking for a different kind of sales job. And I said, cool, keep that in mind. So I reached out to him. He put me in touch with Rossi. I gave Rossi a quick call. We chatted for 5-10 minutes. A few days later, Rossi was like, hey, I want you to chat with Ty Mick. So we did a quick Zoom call. He was like, can you do a Zoom call now? I was like, oh, okay. Took my hat off, got my hair all nice. Thinking it was like an interview. It was just a casual conversation. Casual, yeah. Just what do you do, where you come from, blah, 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 kind of, what we talked about at the beginning. And after that, it was all cool. We'd love to bring you out here and see if you like it. If you like it, we'd love to have you. If you don't like it, we don't want to have you. Simple as that. You seem like a good guy. So I said, okay, when can you come out, or when should I come out? And they said, tomorrow. And I said, I can't do tomorrow. Give me a week. I got a dog, So I came out the week later, shadowed for a week, and said, okay, let's think about it. Thought about it for a little bit. Waited till the new year, and then decided, let's do it. So packed up my car, full U-Haul trailer, me and my dog, and drove halfway across the country, over the mountains through a blizzard that was not very nice. Yeah,
long days of driving for that.
I got stuck a couple times. Oh, wow. Slept in my car 3 or 4 nights. It took twice as long as expected on the GPS. Yeah. But we made it, and here I am. So here we go. Started knocking doors, and 2.5 years later, I'm still here.
Yeah. Did you think you'd be knocking doors for this long, or?
Yes and no. Many times throughout this, I've wanted to quit. Right, It's a tough job. Yeah. Told myself, what am I doing? Rejection, cancels, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. But what I told Brian when I started this job was, when I take a job, I stick with it. I don't give it. I've never had a job for a year or less. My first restaurant job was 4 years. Next restaurant job was 3 years. Next one was 5 years. Next one was 5 years. Yeah. So I stay committed to stuff. I feel like if I can learn something, give myself time to learn it and adapt to it, then I'll be the best I can at it. Yeah. And that's what happened with my restaurant jobs. They saw I was good, and I excelled to the top, and kind of was the leader of that restaurant team in a sense, and eventually managed restaurants too and stuff like that. So okay. I thought about quitting many times, but I also told myself you have to stick with it. All these other guys do, and they see success. Yeah. And that's what you just got to do. So.
Yeah, and one reason why we want to have you on and be, the first person of the Mavericks podcast, because last quarter, you were the
first one?
First one, man. and I think it's very fitting because I think your story will relate to so many people, and it's really powerful. Yeah. What you did last quarter, you were our breakthrough Maverick. Yeah. You went from, I was going through your numbers last year. Q1 last year, you did 9 welcome calls. Yeah. Q2 you did 6, Q3 you did 5, and Q4 you did 6. And last quarter you did 32, and you assisted on 7 plus. You almost 40 welcome calls in a quarter, which is absolutely like amazing in this industry and in this office. And obviously there was some NEM2 momentum in that, but also within that came a lot more of something, right? Yeah. And that's what we want to talk about today. Like what did you learn last quarter that really got you to that kind of like that breakthrough level? And how could that relate to other people that may be in the same position? I think there's a lot of people that are kind of in that same numbers of, doing 5 to 10 welcome calls a quarter.
Right.
Again, this job, you can make enough money on that to have a good living. But like last quarter, you just absolutely threw it all out of the water, dude, and just crushed. So kind of walk me through like maybe the transition on maybe when last quarter you're like, holy cow, I think I can actually like really crush this quarter, and just tell us the story behind that.
Yeah, so kind of goes back to like, everybody has a thermostat, on what they can like make in a year and what they're comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I think for the first couple of years or first year and a half, I did have a thermostat where I was just like comfortable with what I was making per year. It got me by, paid my bills. I didn't need any extra money. Mm-hmm. I mean, I got my dog holding me accountable, but that's really it.
Yeah.
Right. So the money really never like did it for me, or you need the money to pay the bills, but like the reward from this job is not the money, is what I've realized. It's just like the process from start to finish. Mm-hmm. Knocking the door, creating interest, getting in their home, coming back down to sit with them, getting them to install. That's what rewards you. Like I've seen big paychecks come through this quarter or quarter one, and I've seen some big ones come in on the previous years before that, but they just like they don't do it to me. Like the money shows in my bank account, I'm like sweet, but it's like it doesn't like trigger. It doesn't give you that high. It doesn't give you anything.
And I can agree with that. I think once you've been here long enough, you get to a point where like the money comes in and it's fine. Like it gets you maybe the first couple of paychecks you get, you're like holy cow, like this is exciting.
Right.
But really after that, it just comes down to like, like why am I here on like a livelihood basis?
Right.
Like am I here because I want to make a bunch of money, or am I here because I enjoy being here. I find balance in it. The job is difficult in itself, and I like those difficult things. You play golf really well, and that's a very difficult thing to get good at. Right? You have to have a lot of patience, and you have to pay attention to like the really fine details. And so, is there some kind of correlation between like the way you play golf and this job?
Definitely. I've played since I was 6 years old, so I'm a good golfer. I'm humble, but I'm a good golfer. So people ask me all the time, like, hey, give me a tip, give me some advice on that, With golf, like, you can do most of the setup that you need for any shot before you even take the shot, right?
Okay.
You get your grip set up, you get your feet set up, shoulders, stance, little bend in the knee, whatever. It's all set up before you even swing the club, right? So knocking or this job, it's kind of the same thing. You can get all that set up before you go knock a door. Educate yourself. Know the homeowner's name you're going to be talking to. Look at their roof. Look at their panel. Like, know what you're going into. Know the neighbors you're going to name drop. Educate yourself. Have it all ready. Then when you knock it, it just flows naturally.
And now that you say that, it kind of reminds me of a training that Rozzy did. Were you here when we were at Brokaw office for a short period of time? So Rozzy gave a training. I can't remember when it was, but it was in the Brokaw office. Shout out to all the OGs that were part of that office. That was a long time ago. But he talked about golfers don't practice their swing during playing golf.
Right.
Like you work on that before.
Exactly.
So I think that really resonates a lot towards like the time to work on your golf swing isn't on the golf course.
Right.
It's on the practice range before that.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what you're trying to say is like if you're not setting yourself up to go out there and be confident on the doors and be educated and feel comfortable, you're just kind of working against yourself and you make it a lot harder than it needs to be.
Yeah, definitely. And same kind of thing, like regarding practicing, you practice before you go on the course. You're not trying to fix anything on the course. My practice for door knocking, like first 6 months I took this job, I did not take a day off, whether I worked 1 hour or 6 hours. I was out there every day, 6 days a week for 6 months, never took a Saturday off. And when I wasn't out there, I was looking in my mirror and practicing my pitch. Mm-hmm. Like just getting it memorized, getting it dialed, get all the fundamentals in. Right? If you don't have that, you're just going to be winging it. And that's the same thing on the golf course. If you don't practice off the course, you're not going to perform well on the course.
Yep.
If you don't practice your craft off the doors and get it dialed in, you're not going to be good on the doors, right?
Yep.
You're going to miss a certain step, and that's where it comes out in golf. You miss one little thing, good swing, good setup, everything turns into a bad shot. So you could have a perfect pitch, nail everything, but if your transition's poor or your takeaways is poor or whatever, then you're going to miss the shot.
Yep.
Right? So same kind of thing. You got to just be dialed in, make sure it all comes together.
Yeah, and I agree with that because I had some good shots when we golfed the other day.
Yeah.
But my problem is I just don't line up correctly.
Yeah.
Like after I take a shot, people will be like, "Hey, that was a good shot. That's right where you were aiming."
Right.
I just didn't realize that. Yeah. So it's really important that these little things matter. Right. And with golf, you love golf. Are there days you go golf and it's just you have a bad day golf and you score like in the 90s, which would be really good for me, right? But for you, it's probably a rough day. But
yeah, those are rough days. And similar to I'll go out and one day shoot 4 or 5 over par. Mm-hmm. Day later, I'll place a day later, I'll put up a 90 or 88, 89. It hurts.
Yeah.
But it's the nature of the beast, and same thing with door knocking. You can go out and have a great day. You can go out for 1 hour door knocking, get 2 ACs, right? And leave and go home. You can go out there 6 hours and get nothing and get your feet kicked in, right? Yeah. That's shooting a 90 on the day, right? Yeah. So you can have your days where your lights out, and you have your days where the lights are out, and you're not doing anything. But you still got to go out there and do it, right? You got to finish all 18 holes regardless. Mm-hmm. You got to put the hours in knocking regardless, or you're not going to get the results. You're not going to get a final score in golf if you don't put in 18 holes.
Yep.
You're not going to get a final assessment of your door knocking if you don't put in the hours, right?
Yeah, and that's just like bred in you, I feel like, because you first started this and you knocked every day, including Saturdays, not Sundays, for 6 months.
Yeah.
Nonstop, and you didn't have a ton of success, right?
Right.
One of the things you were talking about before we hopped on here was you were doing a really good job creating interest and getting ACs.
Yeah.
But you having a hard time closing.
Yeah.
And you're trying to close these deals by yourself, and you said that was like a mistake.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I think I closed during my combine. I didn't hit the bonus or anything, which was fine. And then maybe a week later, I closed my own first solo welcome call, or maybe it was during combine. Either way, I was proud of myself. I was like, okay, I can do it, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think I can close anybody, right? And that was a mistake. I was going into big accounts or just customers that had questions that I didn't know, a good way to say them. And I wasn't good at transitioning and good at the application, the paperwork, all that stuff. And I shot myself in the foot many times, and now all those people have panels on their house.
Yeah.
Right? That hurts.
That stinks, dude. You go through a neighborhood, then you try to close somebody and you didn't, and you go back and they got panels put on their home.
Yeah.
That stinks. And so to everybody, especially in combine, right?
Yeah.
Let your leaders go close as many deals as they can. That will pay dividends to just your success throughout your career, and you'll learn a lot faster and be able to close more. So
and I was told that too by when I was starting and doing it. Lockhart said he lost tons of deals when he was new and fresh, and hey, have someone close it. I didn't listen clearly enough. I probably should have, and I would have much more money in my bank account now. But that's fine. Yeah, I learned the hard way. But it stings. But
they say. People just need to learn their lessons their own sometimes. Yeah. And I mean, the people that I think, can get going faster is they can learn lessons through other people's mistakes. Yeah. But most people just have to learn their mistakes through themselves, right? Yeah. And so that happens. Yeah. Yeah. And so, but yeah, man, you're just doing so well. You can relate. I feel like your story relates with so many people, including myself. I think a lot of people have a very similar start with their journey here in solar and doing door to door, to where it's very slow your first 6 months to a year. But if you stick with it, right, and as you're sticking with it and you're continuing to put the effort in, and you're picking up things to learn from other people, and there's so many people in our office that people can learn from, that it will come together. Yeah. Right. And we're in this vehicle of Sunrun and solar that we have here in California is special because you don't have to be a top salesperson volume wise to make a good living here, right? But if you can just kind of stay on the path of gradually getting better and staying committed to the work, your life will change. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so maybe what's some of the things over the past years that you've kind of taken away from this job that has given you more opportunity? I know the one thing you love about coming here, a big reason why you came to California is so you can golf year round. But what's some things you're taking away from just the opportunity you have now? And then obviously, I think you're going to have a ton of more opportunities financially as this killer quarter that you had last quarter, and as these installs come through.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see some exciting things happen, and you might actually get a little bit excited about seeing a bunch of money in your bank account.
Yeah.
So, but give me some takeaways. Like why? Like what's your drive right now?
Yeah, and that's where I really didn't have like a focus or something to look forward to. Like my first couple of years, when I took the job, I was like, I want to make $100K. Okay, mm-hmm. There's no context to that. There's no reality to that. It's just a number, right? I wrote down a bunch of like stuff, didn't mean anything. So we had exercise Rossi made us do quarter 4 of 2022, for your quarter 1 goals of 2023. And mm-hmm. obviously with NEM, we're all shooting a lot higher. But just putting that down on paper and being really specific about it, this many welcome calls, this many ACs, this many caps, this many installs. Okay, what's your average per install? Just crunching all those numbers just gives you something better to look at, and then putting like goals on there. Like Rossi's been really good about like, cool, Biz, you're gonna make all this money, like do something with it, right?
Yeah.
You can't just sit there, right? So he's good about like, what do you want? Maybe buy an investment house in Kansas City and rent it out. That way you have that to fall back on if you ever move back there, or when I ever move back there. Stuff like that. So just typing that stuff out as far as like, where I want to invest money or what I want to spend frivolously on, like buying a new driver.
Yeah.
Like I did the other week. Stuff like that. That's all like in my goal sheet. So just looking at that, like, and then seeing my numbers from quarter 1, just shows me that the opportunity is there, and it will continue to grow as long as I give it the chance and keep working at it.
Yeah. And this last quarter, like, did you have fun with how overwhelming amount of work that needed to be done?
Yeah.
Was it still enjoyable for you?
Yeah. It was fun. It was stressful. By the end of the quarter, I was ready to be done with it.
Yeah. I think we all were.
I think everybody was. I was like, okay, how many more appointments are we just going to go sign paperwork for? Get them in. But it was fun. It was stressful. I'm ready to like do it again. Yeah. I took a little break after the deadline and everything, but ready to get back at it. So
I'm excited for you, man. I think just seeing what you did last quarter, obviously the momentum from NEM2 and stuff, that helps like kind of multiplies what our efforts were last quarter. I think for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So there are so many records that were broken last quarter for welcome calls in a quarter, including yourself, and you absolutely crushed it, right? But I also think like there's lessons to take away from that, and we can still do a ton of volume without having the NEM2, right? Transitioning to NEM3, where it's a lot more of a value proposition, and turning it into just having more salesmanship. It's going to require more out of people, and that's for me, that's probably one of the biggest perks of this job. I'm not super money driven either. Like seeing a big paycheck hit my bank account feels good to have security, right? But really, what kind of drives me is like, and you don't realize this until you've been here for a couple of years, but what this job molds you to be, right? Like it challenges you to change and adapt and grow and get comfortable in uncomfortable situations, and that's the thing that I love seeing new people come in and do, and new people like grow into that, because I know what they're going to go through is going to be challenging, along with anything else. But it's also a huge perk is if you've been here for a couple of years. I mean, do you feel like you've changed from the type of person that you are, 2.5, 3 years ago when you started to today? Do you feel like you've elevated or upgraded or leveled up, aside from financially, but on a more like personal development standard?
Absolutely. I talked to my parents, or when I first started, we'd do a phone call once a week, hey, how are things going, blah, blah, all that stuff, which is great. And now we still chat and everything. But my dad he'll tell me constantly, he's like, the improvement that he just hears in my voice, or just the way I talk about the job, it's just gone from here to like here.
That's really cool that they notice that, dude.
Yeah.
That's really
cool.
And
I'll talk about like, because I've done the assists, and I'll have new guys come shadow me, and I'll give him a quick blurb on that, and he's like, and I'll say something related to like how I was 2 years ago, and he was like, yeah, remember Matthew, that was you 2 years ago.
Yeah.
From 2 years ago to where you are today, the way you talk about the job and success and your customers and all that, how much you care about them and all that. He's like, it's just night and day. You know, he reminds me probably every other time we talk that I'm a different person or a different, being than I was 2 years ago. So it's definitely helped. I've told people I learned more in the 2 years I've been here than I did in college, at my previous sales job, whatever, any other job, any education. I've learned more here from the leaders, just getting out there and doing it than I have in any other education or any other job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like with you being into sports, on top of like all this whole, there's so much value that you get from just being in the position that we're in of having to go knock doors, be full commission, door to door, no security. Yeah. Right. But with you being into sports, myself as well, like this job you're treated like an athlete. Yeah. Right. Like what you put into the job off the street, off the doors, directly correlates to how you're going to do. And, as if you're never an athlete and you like sports too, like I'm sure you work on your golf game and to get as good as you are, right? You're incredible. Yeah. But you've been doing that since you were 6. Yeah. Right. And so there's a perk with this job to where you can feel the same way that it feels to like when you're playing a sport, and knowing that if you put the work in, the practice, like Roger always says, like weightlifting to athletes is the same as confidence to salespeople. Yeah. Right. Like having confidence in yourself and knowing that you're going to go out there and do what you're supposed to do is really important. Yeah. And it helps so much. But it's also a great perk of the job, like to be part of a company where we're treated, like an athlete, and we have that schedule of an athlete, the freedom to like, when am I going to go to work, right? Which can be a kind of a bittersweet thing. Like a lot of people aren't, mature enough to handle that kind of a responsibility. Like I get to choose when I go to work, but the people that can figure it out, it's the best thing for you. It's another perk to the job, right. But I mean, as we wrap up here, man, like what are some things that if you could tell yourself back when you first started for the things that you know now and things that could correlate to other people that are in the office, that, maybe are around that 5 to 7, 8 welcome call mark, how to like kind of level up and break through. Yeah. Like what would you say to them or to yourself when you first started?
Yeah. Use your leaders. Don't try to close the deals on your own. Kill the club first. Go shadow leaders. Ask if you can join them on their welcome calls. Mm-hmm. Just be a human. Yeah. That's simple. Like it's just goes back to like telling a story. Like whenever new guys shadow me, I'm like, hey, just like pretend I'm your uncle or your brother. Like, how would you tell me about solar? Yep. And they just start talking, and it's all casual. And I'm like, just go tell the homeowner that.
It is that, my friend.
Just go pretend the homeowner's your grandma, your son, your dad, your brother, whatever age they are. Just relate to them. Yep. That's what I've always kind of thought. So if it's my grandma, I'm gonna be super nice, whatever. Uh-huh. But you gotta like adapt and mirror to your customer. But so be yourself, have a conversation, use your leaders, and don't let the rejection and cancels get to you, because they'll come. They're gonna come. They'll come in waves, and then you won't get one for a while, and then 3 or 4 will come. Yeah. You'll be like, what the heck? But
but again, that's back to it kind of molds you and calluses you to be comfortable with that, right? Yeah. If you can expect it, which we all do. I went out and knocked yesterday for a couple hours with Angelo, and just didn't get nothing. Yeah. But I expect that, right? Especially in this new phase of things, so it doesn't sting as hard. Yeah. When I first started, if I go and knock and didn't get anything. Yeah, like that was tough. Oh yeah. That weighed really heavy.
You got to go out the next day and do it again. It's
you got to like wipe the slate clean, right? Yep. And so, but the thing that you just said that I love so much, and I think some of the best salespeople do, is to be human with the person on that door, right? Like find a way just to genuinely connect with them. I'm a firm believer that everybody's going to go solar with the person that they trust. Right. And if you can be that person, if you can just show up and connect with them and build some credibility and some trust, they're going to listen. Yeah. And we're lucky enough to where solar is just very logical here. You just have to bring that emotion side to it to where the homeowner or the customer is willing to listen to you, but you have to connect with them. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. And which I love that. Like I love that it brings it to the side of it where you can just be yourself and find a genuine connection with a homeowner and still be able to sell them and make money doing that, right?
Yeah, I feel like most of my customers, or a majority have them, like, they tell me, they're like, you're just like an educator. Like, I'm just telling a story. I'm not a sales guy. I'm just an educator and teaching them, right? They're like, thanks for teaching me, right? And they get installed every time. They don't see me as a sales guy. Don't be a sales guy. Just be a human. Go talk to a person and have a conversation. Simple.
And I would say you're really good at what you do. You're really good at sales. And when customers tell you that it doesn't feel like they got sold, that's when you know you're really good. Right? And especially with this service that we have, we teach through, or we sell through education, right? We teach them, problem, solution. And we are the solution to the problem that is here. And with all the state laws and mandates that are put in place, and we're lucky to have this vehicle to where, in my opinion, we get paid a lot more than we should for what we do. Back to when I first started, I was getting paid $260 a kilowatt, right? Like way different back then. To now be able to offer something to somebody and feel good about what we're doing. Like, the gratitude for this job is on every level. Just, I'm in love with it. Right. If you had to say one thing to everybody at the office, that's a Maverick, to kind of get them to have their breakthrough quarter for Q2, what would be the one thing you say to them?
Ignore.
Just think back to like last quarter. Like, what was a premise of last quarter that maybe kind of helped you have that breakthrough quarter?
Be deliberate. Be very deliberate. Be intentional with what you're doing. That was what, like, Rousey asked me in a meeting one time, like, what happened? Why where'd all these welcome calls come from or whatever? So I'm just being deliberate and being intentional with people, and like, not asking for something. I'm telling them what we're going to do, right? Just guiding them through the process. Not being pushy, but I'm being intentional, and they see that as Matt's doing his job. This is the next step.
Being a professional. Right? The big difference between going out and knocking doors and hoping that you get a sell, hoping that somebody wants to go solar, and the difference of being intentional and being a professional. And being intentional is of greater service to a homeowner than you going out and hoping that they go solar. Because if you're intentional about what they're, and taking them through the process, at the end of the process, they just got solar and it seemed very seamless. But if you're hoping, and they're having to say yes to every question and answer, or every question that you ask them, that's a lot of decisions that homeowner has to make. That's called decision fatigue. And so, Matt, we're grateful to have you part of the Mavericks, bro. We're really proud of what you did last quarter. I think what you did last quarter will serve a lot more other people in our office, and I hope people can take away from your story and you being here what you did last quarter. And everybody in our office, go out there this next quarter, and if you want to have a breakthrough quarter like Matt, taking care of business last quarter, like, be intentional, be deliberate, and I'll say, let's go on the golf course again soon.
Okay.
For sure. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you coming in.
Absolutely.
Okay. Woo! First one in the book!